Welcome everybody, Steve here. Today we're back on the Project 56 Merc, and the last time I left you with this project, I just did the body work on these fenders. They were pretty rough, there was a lot of work to them, but they're ready to go. We got them in primer, and it's been a while, you know, work getting in the way. But we're going to sand these down, we're going to paint them. But at the same time, I want to get this front, it's actually called a lower radiator grill. Did you know that? I didn't. I actually had to look that up. So, I never would have guessed. But, I've got to, there's some dents, some pretty major ones. And it's just caved in here a little bit, got some cracks. So, it's kind of pointless to paint the fenders and not paint this. So I'm going to do the body work real quick on this, not going to waste your time, so we can get on to painting this stuff. This is kind of important because it kind of ties in to the front of the fender, so when you're putting it all together, you want to have that lower grill in there so that you can fit everything up really nice and neat. Alright, looks like some major ones. Might have to lean on it a little bit, put it on the floor, pound on it. We'll get her fixed up. Alright, get at her. Well, the primer turned out good. I think we're gonna have no issues with this one at all. I got a couple pinholes, I saw those before I put the guide coat on here. But we're gonna give her a final sand so that we can go to paint. And first thing I'm gonna do is hit it with some 220. That way you get everything nice and straight, and then you finish it off blocking it out with some 320. Put another guide coat on and do your 320. But this is a lower panel, it's down low. I'm really not too concerned about it being perfect. So, you know, I'm leaving the odd little tiny ding in here. I'm gonna mimic some rock chips in there. So I don't need to have this absolutely perfect. So I'm gonna use the sander, little palm sander, for my 220. Now, any advice? Go nice and easy. You don't want to start digging in just because there's a little scratch, because then you're going to leave a low spot. Just take her easy until the guide coat's just about gone, you'll know. And then we'll re-guide coat it, 320, and we're good to go. I'm happy with the 220. Now I'm just going to block it with some 320, just on the, on the flat areas, stuff that we're going to see, and anything that you won't take out anything that's going to, catch your eye. But on these edges, down below, we're just going to hit it with a palm sander. That'll be more than good enough. So take your time. Go both ways. It does not take very long at all. One little trick that'll help you. When it starts to get a little munged up on the paper, just give her a shot with a scuff cloth. Way better than blowing it off, because then you don't get it everywhere. Okay, we're all blowing off. Now, one of the things that you just can't get away from is just the pinholes. And what I just use this red putty here, red glazing putty. This is all we had years and years ago, just this. And it fills up the pinholes really, really quick and easy. What I really like about it is it's really, really easy to sand. I'll put my sealer over this, paint it, you won't even know. It's a little thin. We got a new tube here. There we go, it's looking good now. Not that many, but enough. Now the fenders are going to get the same treatment, except I'm not going to use a palm sander for, for most of this. I will block out the 220, but I'll use a combination of my board and then a flexible little pad with some sandpaper. That works really good when you're going around corners, stuff like that. I was hoping to leave a little bit of patina here and there. We'll see how it goes when I'm spraying. Like there's a couple scratches down in here. I'm going to utilize those so when I see them, you'll see how I doctor those up so they kind of look like a little bit of a scratch. Because remember with this truck here, we want kind of a patina looking finish. So that's what we're going to do. But we want her looking good still. All right, there we are. Well, she looks pretty good. It ended up turning out to be pretty darn straight. Now, I just give it a couple good coats of primer. Typically, when you're doing a restoration job, you'd prime the whole thing, you'd sand it with 150, and then you'd put another couple coats of primer on it, and then do your final sand from there. But for what we want, I made sure that it was all nice, and 2 coats, save a little bit of time, because, we're really not looking for, a glass flat finish. Now that I got her all sanded, pinhole time. Now sanding this glazing putty is just as easy as it gets, but you still want to use a block. I'm still using just the 320 on here, but it sands so nice and easy, and you coat it, you don't ever see that pinhole. Works out really, really nice. Way better than if you're using the 2-part putty, well now you have it's so hard. And when you sand it, now you have a chance of making your body work a little bit uneven. So, just go light with your 320. and it sands off quite quickly. It's almost like a Zen moment. Yeah, I'm going to continue with this. Won't take me very long. I got the second fender pinholes are filled, but this stuff takes a couple hours to set up completely. So I'll do that one a little bit later. Get everything ready, and then tomorrow we're going to spray these. Alright, we're at the end of the shop here. And we're just getting everything all prepped up. Got everything all hung up. Now a little wax and grease remover. And then we're going to put a coat of epoxy primer on. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. Now, originally, I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of a, you know, it's that dark red oxide. I'm able to buy a red oxide primer, but it's a little bit on the red side, so I'm going to darken it up. So let's go over to where I'm mixing, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm using a Cloverdale Duraprime. I've got a little bit of the red oxide inside there. It's my cup there right now. So we're just going to add a little bit of black and see what happens here. I'm going to go too much right off the bat here. See what it does. And I darkened it up quite a bit. You can see a little difference on the mixing stir stick there. I think I could probably go just a little bit more. Okay, I'm just going to go check it with the fender, see if I have to go darker. It's not bad. I'm just going to add a little bit more in the black. And then when I sand through, you're going to be able to see that. I think that's going to be just about fine. Alright, I'll mix the rest of that up. It's 4-to-1. And then we can spray that on. Alright, my epoxy primer is nice and dry. Let it dry overnight. Now, for me, my policy is I always give it a little light sand before I paint, and just use some 1200 grit, 1000 grit works fine. All you're doing is it just seems like it's always a little bit rough, and you just give it a light stroke, and all is good. Just give yourself the best possible chance of success, is all I'm saying. So if you can just do one more little thing to make your paint look that much better, well, that's worth it. Okay, we got it all tacked off. Time to start spraying. Alright, just in case you guys haven't been following along with the project, this is the Project 56 Merc. Now, whenever I buy paint, if I gotta kind of match an old paint job, or sometimes one is faded a little bit more than another area, I'll buy two different colors. This one here is close to our Merc, but I still have to add a little bit of this. This one here is kind of like a school bus yellow. I have to add a little bit. It's actually about 8 to 1. 8 parts of this to 1 part of this to get the kind of the color that I want. So I do have to kind of custom do it, but that's how I do it. I just buy a couple different colors and mix it yourself. You can take it to the paint shop, but you know, it's almost easier just to do it in your own shop. So there's what I do if you haven't been following along. So we are gonna now do a little patina, and then we are going to clear it. Okay, the paint is it's just dry now, And I'm just taking a paintbrush here, and I got a couple of spots where, you know, there's some original scratches, and I'm just taking some of the paint off with this. Just use a little lacquer thinner. And the whole fender's moving here. Take a little bit of the paint off. And we'll come back, I'll sand it a little bit yet. I purposely left a couple of these little scratches in here so we can patina some of that stuff up, make it look like it's a little original. This is kind of the fun part. Just takes time, that's all. Now I want to sand through this a little bit, kind of expose the epoxy primer underneath. And the best way I found to do that, just 400 grit, a palm sander. You can do it by hand, but it just takes a little bit longer. And I don't like longer. You kind of see a couple of little things I've done there. Made it look like there was a couple scratches there. And up at the top you can see I just come through. I don't like it when it's just, you know, really heavy duty. And it's just slight. So then we go over here and we have our radiator grill panel. And, oh, a little closer. You can see this fender here. So, you know, you've got to make sure there's the odd little scratch in there, and there's a couple little scratches and just coming through the paint. Yeah, definitely the best way to do that is with a palm sander. Just saves so much time. And now I'm ready to clear it. Well, the clear is going on good, and what I'm doing is I don't want to have a gloss clear, and as I mentioned in one of my other videos, I cannot buy the matte clear in the type of clear that I buy, so I'm adding a matting agent to the clear that I have, and that will give me the sheen that I want. I don't want a glossy sheen. I just want something that's more along a matte finish, kind of a semi-gloss. And it all turned out great. For my next video, I'm hoping that we have it on the truck and I can give you a little peek of what it looks like when it's all together. So until then, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and keep up with this project. We've got some time now. I'm going to be working on it. Thanks.